Joel Embiid's situation just took a scary turn after reports revealed his health condition has gotten worse ahead of Game 2 against the Knicks. Now the Sixers star has officially been pulled from the game, and fans are starting to fear this could become much bigger than just another injury setback. On May 6, 2026, ESPN's Shams Charania reported that Philadelphia 76ers star Joel Embiid had been ruled out for Game 2 against the New York Knicks due to ankle and hip injuries. The star big man was officially ruled out with a right ankle sprain and right hip soreness. The Sixers were already in a 1-0 series hole after a 137-98 drubbing in Game 1 Monday night. What made this worse was the speed at which everything shifted. The injury update changed quickly. Embiid had initially been listed as probable with the ankle issue, before the team ruled him out with both the ankle sprain and hip soreness. According to CBS Sports, Sixers coach Nick Nurse told reporters, Embiid woke up with a bunch of soreness. ESPN reported that he missed the team's morning shoot-around because of increased soreness. This was not a random injury in a random game. Embiid recently returned from an emergency appendectomy and played the final 4 games of Philadelphia's first-round series win over the Boston Celtics. He averaged 28.0 points, 9.0 rebounds, and 7.0 assists in those 4 games. But in Game 1 against the Knicks, he managed just 14 points and 4 rebounds on 3 of 11 from the field. Now the question became whether any of this was sustainable. The question was not only whether Embiid could tolerate the ankle and hip discomfort, it was whether he could do it while coming off a demanding first-round series, a recent surgical recovery, and a Game 1 performance in which he did not look like himself. And this moment, this ruling out for Game 2, sits inside a much larger story. A story about a body that has been failing one of the most talented basketball players alive, slowly, publicly, and with increasing frequency for over a decade. Embiid was limited to 38 games this season and has played just 96 regular season games since his MVP campaign in 2023. Now in his 8th postseason appearance, Embiid has missed time in 6 of those playoff runs, all of which have ended before the Eastern Conference Finals. To understand how it got here, you have to go back to where this whole thing started. Joel Embiid was born in Yaoundé, Cameroon, to military officer Thomas Embiid and his wife Christine. His early years looked nothing like the trajectory of a future NBA MVP. While growing up, Embiid played several sports, and at one point he wanted to pursue a volleyball career. But when he was 15, he began playing basketball. He grew to 6'9" at age 15 and used his height to play volleyball until one of his school's basketball coaches gave him a video of Hakeem Olajuwon and told him to take it home. The coach didn't think Embiid would watch it over and over and keep pressing rewind. He stopped playing volleyball. That was the pivot point. A VHS tape of a Hall of Famer handed to a towering teenager who had never really considered basketball as a future. Embiid attended a local basketball camp given by Luc Mbah, a Moot, who by this time was established as a role player in the NBA. 2 months later, he was on a plane to Florida to go to high school in America. When he arrived at Montverde Academy, it was not a smooth landing. The first time Embiid played basketball on U.S. soil, his high school teammates laughed. A guard's pass hit him in the stomach. He tripped and fell, coming off a screen, and the ball bounced off his foot when he was simply trying to dribble past a defender. The coach kicked him out of the gym on the first day. But Embiid had something raw and undeniable. At 6'9", with the wingspan of a pterodactyl and the footwork of a ballet dancer, it was obvious to Coach Kevin Boyle that he had landed a treasure in the 16-year-old. After bouncing from Montverde to the Rock School in Gainesville, Florida, Embiid committed to the University of Kansas. A year later, he committed to Kansas. He didn't even know what March Madness was, didn't know who the good teams were, and the only reason he chose Kansas was because Luke told him it was the best. In one season at Kansas, he was spectacular enough to declare for the 2014 NBA draft. But even before the draft, the cracks in the story appeared. On June 20th, 2014, he underwent surgery on a broken navicular bone in his right foot and was subsequently ruled out for 4 to 6 months. 6 days later, he was selected with the 3rd overall pick by the Philadelphia 76ers. Then tragedy struck. Embiid's younger brother, Arthur, died on October 16, 2014, in a car crash in his home country of Cameroon. With Arthur gone, Joel lost his purpose in life and wanted to quit the NBA to go back to his family in Cameroon. He named his son Arthur years later in memory of his brother. Embiid's first 2 NBA seasons were a complete wash. He was ruled unlikely to play at all in the 2014-15 season due to the broken navicular bone. And after missing that entire season, it was announced that he had suffered a setback in his recovery. After a CT scan revealed less healing than anticipated, 2 full years gone before he ever stepped on an NBA court. When he finally debuted in October 2016, he made his long-awaited NBA regular season debut against the Oklahoma City Thunder, recording 20 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 blocks in a 103-97 loss. The talent was overwhelming, blinding, real, but multiple foot and knee injuries delayed Embiid's debut for 2 seasons, until 2016-17, when he was named to the NBA All-Rookie First Team, despite playing only 31 games. This was the template being set. Brilliance interrupted by breakage, dominance punctuated by absence. The process was working, but the process was also breaking down. The list of injuries Joel Embiid has endured reads less like a medical chart and more like a compendium of everything that can go wrong with a 7-foot, 280-pound human being playing the most physically demanding position in professional basketball. Joel Embiid has suffered more than 100 injuries as of December 2025. In his career in the NBA, with his knee and foot problems being the most serious, and some resulting in season-ending injuries, Embiid's career has been ravaged by injury. A bone bruise here, a meniscus tear there, a busted orbital bone, a sprained shoulder, tendinitis, torn ligaments, even Bell's palsy. In the 2017-18 playoffs, his first postseason appearance, Embiid's official playoff debut was delayed until Game 3 of the first round, after he was diagnosed with an orbital fracture in his face and a concussion. The star center had been in a collision with teammate Markelle Fultz that left a bone in his face broken, and when he returned, he wore a protective mask. In 2021-22, more of the same. Embiid had 33 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks to lead the 76ers to a win in Game 6. But the next day, the Sixers announced that he had suffered a mild concussion and a right orbital fracture and would be out indefinitely. He missed the first 2 games of the Eastern Conference semifinals. In 2023-24, the damage became existential. Embiid was in the midst of one of the most dominant scoring seasons in NBA history, before Golden State Warriors forward Jonathan Kuminga accidentally fell onto his left leg on January 30th, 2024. Prior to that moment, Embiid had scored more points than minutes played, something no player had accomplished since Wilt Chamberlain more than 60 years ago. Embiid had a procedure on that left knee a short time later, and it has remained a constant source of trouble for him for the past calendar year. That left knee became the focal point of everything. Embiid has had 2 knee surgeries on his left meniscus, both on the lateral side of it. The first was in 2017, the second in 2024. And in both procedures, doctors hoped that clipping off the injured portion of the meniscus would create long-term healing. But when 2 separate surgeries on the same area did not create a lasting fix, doctors had to look at more novel approaches. The 2024-25 season was the lowest point. On February 28th, the 76ers announced that Embiid would miss the remainder of the season due to ongoing issues with his left knee. In 19 total starts that season, he averaged 23.8 points, 8.2 rebounds, and 4.5 assists. On April 11th, Embiid underwent arthroscopic surgery on his left knee. Embiid conceded that season he didn't give himself enough time to recover from his knee surgery, and that can be blamed in large part on his decision to play for Team USA in the Olympics. The 76ers publicly supported Embiid in his decision to go for gold, but had little input on the decision. He won gold at the Paris 2024 Olympics, but the cost to his body was severe. Embiid turns 31, and given his age and his overall physical condition, many believe it's unrealistic to think he can ever regain his MVP form. And yet, when the 2025-26 season began, the Sixers tried once more to make it work. Embiid started the 2025-26 season on a minutes restriction due to left knee injury management, limiting him to 20 minutes a game and excluding him from playing back-to-back games. The 76ers were being even more cautious than usual with Embiid, and he rarely, if ever, played in back-to-back games in 2025-26. But he played well when he was on the floor, averaging 26.9 points and 7.7 rebounds per game. Then, just before the playoffs on April 9th, Embiid underwent emergency surgery after being diagnosed with appendicitis, ending his regular season. The timing was brutal. The Sixers were fighting for their playoff lives, and their franchise player was on an operating table in Houston. Against all expectations, Embiid returned. Not in a week, not in a month, in days. While Embiid sat out of the play-in match against the Orlando Magic and the first 3 matches against the Celtics, he made his return in Game 4, dropping 26 points and 10 rebounds. The Sixers were down 3-1. Nobody gave them a chance, but this would be the start of a strong stretch for the former MVP, having 2 nights of 30 points or more to his name down the stretch, including a 34-point, 12-rebound, 6-assist stat line in Game 7 against Boston. Embiid became the first player in NBA history to score 100 points in a playoff series. When he did not play the first 3 games, the 76ers made history by winning 3 consecutive games to take the series 4-3. An offensive trio of Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and VJ Edgecombe combined for an impressive 87 points in Game 7, and coupled with solid defensive efforts, led to a 109-100 triumph. After the game, Embiid limped up the court after securing a rebound, which would have been a worrying sight for the Philadelphia faithful. But following the win, he provided a humorous update, stating to the press, "I feel great. I feel amazing. I was faking it." He was not faking it. The excitement quickly faded as the 76ers faced the New York Knicks in the conference semifinals, suffering a heavy blowout loss in Game 1. Fatigue from the previous series, combined with poor defensive execution and a striking 35-point performance from Jalen Brunson, resulted in a disappointing 98-137 defeat. Embiid finished that Game 1 loss with 14 points, on 3-11 shooting, 4 rebounds and 1 assist across 25 minutes, after posting back-to-back double-doubles to close out the first round against Boston. The star big man couldn't carry that momentum, and his struggles from beyond the arc continued. He was shooting just 13.6% from deep in 5 postseason games. Then came the morning of Game 2, and everything fell apart. Embiid had been initially listed as probable due to a right ankle sprain, but sat out morning shoot-around with hip pain. He woke up with a bunch of soreness, nurse said. Hours later, he was ruled out entirely. Without Embiid, an uphill battle turned into something much greater. Embiid's absence immediately changes Philadelphia's offensive math. Without him, the Sixers lose their best low-post scorer, their most reliable free-throw generator, and the player who forces the Knicks to defend deeper into the paint. Without Embiid, the Sixers have to rely heavily on Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, and rookie VJ Edgecombe. Maxey is averaging 25.1 points and 6 assists. George has put up 17.4 points on 56.5% from three-point range, and Edgecombe has contributed 14.8 points and 6.1 rebounds a game in his first playoff run. But the deeper question is not about one game or one series. It's about what comes after. Here is where the story of Joel Embiid's health intersects with the financial architecture of the NBA. In September 2024, Embiid waived his player option to sign a massive 3-year, $192.9 million by volleyball WUG fully guaranteed extension with the team that drafted him. Embiid is owed $248 and $1 million NOK over the next 4 seasons, $55.2 million, $59.5 million, $64.3 million, and $69.1 million, all of which is guaranteed. Across his 11-year career, Embiid has become the highest-paid Philadelphia 76er in franchise history, having earned more than $320 million. The financial commitment is staggering, and now the question of what to do about it looms over everything the franchise does. When Embiid was shut down during the 2024-25 season, the conversations about his future took a dark turn. The only way for the 76ers to get cap relief in future years would be if Embiid's knee issues are deemed to be career-ending. The determination on whether Embiid suffered a career-ending injury would be made by a physician, selected by the NBA and the Players Association. And if that's the case, starting on February 22, 2026, Philadelphia could apply to the NBA to have Embiid's salary removed from its cap sheet. The Sixers would also have to waive Embiid. That date, February 22, 2026, came and went, and Embiid was back on the court. He returned for the 2025-26 season, played 38 games, averaged 26.9 points and 7.7 rebounds, and led the Sixers back to the playoffs. The medical retirement pathway evaporated, but the underlying reality did not change. Medical retirements happen when an NBA player is forced to retire due to a career-ending injury or illness. The latest example is Chris Bosh, who had to retire after multiple blood clot issues. The team applies for a disabled player career-ending injury exception, and an NBA-approved doctor must confirm the player cannot return. If approved, the team gets salary cap relief, but the player still receives guaranteed money. The fact that this was even discussed in relation to a 31-year-old former MVP tells you everything about where this situation sits. Since being drafted by the Philadelphia 76ers in 2014, Joel Embiid has struggled with injuries. He missed the first 2 years of his career due to injury and played only 31 games in his third season, has never played 70-plus games, and managed to play in 60-plus only 4 times. Anything Embiid contributes for the remaining 3 years on his contract should be viewed as a bonus. Frankly, anything the Sixers do in the playoffs should be viewed as a bonus as well. This season was always about figuring out what the franchise's future is and how it can build a contender around players that aren't Joel Embiid. We can all probably safely assume Embiid will play less than 50 regular season games a year for the rest of his career, so it just makes sense to continue to make decisions as if Embiid wasn't around anymore. The cold, hard truth is that the Sixers are going to be wobbling on shaky ground for the entire time Embiid is trying to get through 2 months of playing in the postseason at a high level. That's likely a truth that lasts for the remainder of Embiid's career. And here's the final, unavoidable reality. Embiid has only been 100% healthy once in the playoffs. That was in the bubble in 2020, when the Sixers were swept by the Celtics in the first round. The only other time he appeared in all of the Sixers' playoff games was in 2024, when he played through a torn meniscus and Bell's palsy in their first-round loss to the Knicks. Joel Embiid is one of the most gifted basketball players to ever live. He scored 70 points along with 18 rebounds and 5 assists in a single game, breaking the Sixers' franchise record previously set by Wilt Chamberlain, becoming the 9th player in NBA history to score 70 or more points, and the first player ever to score at least 70 points, 15 rebounds, and 5 assists in a game. He was named the NBA Most Valuable Player in 2023. He won a gold medal on the 2024 U.S. Olympic team. But the body has its own rules, and those rules do not care about talent or contracts or the desperate hopes of a franchise and its fans. ESPN's Lisa Salters reported that Embiid is considered day-to-day going forward. Day-to-day, that has essentially been Joel Embiid's career status for the past decade. The question is no longer whether the Sixers can win with Embiid. The question is whether Embiid's body will ever let them find out. We should all allow the improbability of a championship with Embiid to force us to enjoy the good moments he does give us from here on out even more. Because every game he plays now feels borrowed. Every comeback feels like it could be the last, and the conversation about the 76ers releasing Joel Embiid, whether through a trade, a medical retirement filing, or the slow, painful acknowledgement that his body simply cannot hold up, is not a conversation about the future anymore. It is a conversation about right now.